This Boss Rush Spotlight is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Boss Rush Podcast Spotlight, where we show off and talk to some of our favorite creators and developers and more across the industry. I am your host, Corey Deering, and alongside me is the fantastic crew from Secret Friends Unite. Known all of these characters for such a long time. Some of them you may recognize from the Boss Rush Podcast. Some of you may not, but you should, because I think it was only proper to launch this new Spotlight series with this group. So I'm joined by Todd Oxtra, Mark Carabin, and Charlie Carden. I'm going to let them kind of talk a little bit about themselves real quick. Todd, we're going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Todd.
Goodness, Corey, I hate to talk about myself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a modest man.
That's the deal with people from the Midwest. We're very shy. Everybody knows.
Yes, we are. Yes, only shy compared to the Canadians. You know, they're the most modest among us. But thank you so much for having us on, Corey. We go way back. We recorded podcasts together, started a couple podcasts that no longer exist. So thank you once again. You're so supportive of Secret Friends Unite. And we've had your team on. Actually, we're going to have one of your team members, Stephanie, on co-op mode coming on Tuesday. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm Todd Oxtra. I am from originally from Michigan, but now living in Minnesota for almost 20 plus years. I am one of the co-founders of Secret Friends Unite, which has a crazy origin story, which I won't bore you too much with here.
I'll just say
Charlie will definitely will. Charlie's like our lore historian. He's got dates. He's like the Rain Man when it comes to dates and figures and fun facts. But yeah, I mean, that was essentially Secret Friends Unite is a passion project that brings us together to talk about all things nerdy. We call it our the guide to the geek side. See, I can't even get it right after all these years, but it really was a way to keep in contact with friends that are far apart now to still talk about geeky things and the things we love. And it just grew to become all the things we're all passionate about. It became a Facebook group, then one podcast. Then I encouraged Charlie to grow his love of Star Trek, doing that. Then some way we found a Canardian, and he wanted to talk about video games, so I said I do too. And then that Canardian said, "Hey, I like Star Wars," and I said, "That's fine. I know the Star Wars. Do your thing." So but I mean, I'm probably the oldest of the group, and we're heritage geeks from different ages, and we brought in Mark to really bring our age quotient down to make us feel a little hipper and cool.
It's a good average.
Yeah.
That's Todd. You know, you and I have, like you said, we go all the way back before even Nerds Gone Rogue. Todd, that's how far back we go. Yeah, it's been quite an adventure. Probably the last decade, I guess it would be a little bit or more even. So I'm glad you're here. We're gonna move on to the Canardian, Mark Carabin. Mark, you and I first met when you were doing Warp Whistle all the way back.
Yeah. So we started Warp Whistle back in 2015. So I've been podcasting for a while. We've known each other for a long time, and have always been in that video game space together. And yeah, when the Warp Whistle podcast ended, I was kind of, like Todd alluded to, I was kind of looking for a place to still chat about video games, and that kind of turned into a Star Wars show as well with Holocron Chronicles, and building out like the website and the network and Patreon and all this fun stuff. It's been a cool ride for the last few years with Secret Friends. So I've been with Secret Friends now, I think, almost as long as I was with doing Warp Whistle stuff. So it's kind of cool, and time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I think the addition of co-op mode really really made, I think, at least from people that I've talked to, really brought a lot of attention to you guys too. Just because, don't get me wrong, Charlie, I know you love video games, but
Lego is video games, right? That's all I got. That's all I got. I'm trying to do stuff, and I'm like, that's all right. That's all right.
But yeah, I think co-op mode is great. I think Holocron Chronicles is great. I know our friend LaRon, who co-hosts Boss Rush podcast with me, loves Code 47. So
what?
So
Yes, Charlie. He's a big Trekker. You should have him on.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yes, absolutely. We've got some great stuff coming up. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, kick him over my way. I'll take him. I'll take him.
Good. We want to get rid of him.
Well, I didn't say I'd keep him. Maybe a foster, like a play date. I don't know.
He has the most muscles though of anybody on the podcast. So let's just put it that way.
That's true. He's we call him the PC muscle race for a reason. So a
PC thug or like Homer Simpson, a greasy thug. I people call me a greasy thug too.
Man, Charlie. So this is actually the first podcast we've ever done together.
I know we've danced because I know you filled in for me, and it's funny anytime anybody fills in for me and I let Todd run things, we end up with like a 3-hour show. I'm the one who has to keep the bridle and the whip on Todd to keep him on track, because he's like, well, what I really wanted to say is that I hate Star Wars because blah blah blah, they do this thing and Dave Filoni sucks and blah blah blah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I wasn't, it would
Charlie.
Well, that's
8 minutes in, they're throwing each other under the bus. This is why I'm here. I got to separate the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's me. Yeah, I get up early. And Todd, what's my famous catchphase?
Moving on.
Yeah. So, Charlie, you are Mr. Captain America. You're Mr. Cosplay. You're Mr. Star Trek. Tell us about you.
Me, well, for me and Todd Oxtra, who's the yin to my yang, we go back to 1995, Holden Hall at Michigan State University. We met, and it was within a year of that, with that and some other friends, and it was a weird combination. Todd, I have no idea how this happened. You had a book at your house where growing up, in like your library in the basement, that was called The Secret Friend or Secret Friends or something. And somehow, some way, that freshman year when we were breaking, John, who's our other roommate, we were breaking down the loft in our dorm room, and that secret friend got written on the side of the loft. And Todd was like, "Oh, that's great." And he drew
within a heart. By the way, within a heart.
And then you drew a heart on it, and we were all laughing about it. And it was 1996. It never went away. So you jump forward to almost 20 years later, and the internet is a thing, social media is a thing. And Todd's like, there's this Facebook thing, and you can have groups where people come around. And so it was 10 years ago, 2013. We started this group. It started to take off. And then Todd had been mixed in with folks like yourself or other people with, Todd's like, some people brought me in and I was on a podcast and that went away. Then he said to me, we should do a podcast. And I'm like, what the hell is that? He says, you record and you talk and then you put it out there and it's free. Whatever. Okay, fine. And yeah, that was the fall of 2014. And then that has led us to this moment now, going on 10 years later, doing this deal. And then, we brought Mark into the mix, and I've had some people. I've been doing Code 47, all about Star Trek, since the fall of 2020. And I've had some hosts come and go, and some talented folks and some not talented folks. And, but yeah, I will give Todd credit. He's the one who said, you should do your thing with that, because he had already been doing co-op for a while. And then Mark and I clicked over Holocron, and now we're 4 strong, doing our thing.
Charlie, you didn't say what our first nerd date was when we first met in college, though.
Oh, well, don't let me take it away from you. Go on.
We went to a very lowbrow comic book convention in Lansing. We rode our bikes like we were the Goonies. And we go, and I look at some stuff. Didn't buy much of anything, probably. But Charlie buys a Mego Klingon.
Well, now hold on. Now You're
Oh,
putting
boy.
two stories together here. That
Am I putting
was
two stories together? No?
that was in the Kellogg Center, which is the event center in Michigan,
okay.
Michigan State Camp. It was a dirt con where it was just filthy long boxes of comics. Nothing was bagged. You're like, "Ugh, everything stinks." But no, there was a shop in Lansing, Michigan, where we went to school, that the guy sold bits and pieces. So yeah, he had an old 1970s Mego Klingon, which is still in my living room upstairs with the little boots and everything. And that was my first, like, I paid $20 for it or something. That was big bucks back then. So that I could have, that was my first kind of little dumb collectible. And yes, Todd takes no end of glory in it. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I've always been a Trekker. My parents were Heritage Trekkers, watched it together in the dorms at Central Michigan University in the 60s. And I started watching it when I was a kid, when TNG came out. And then it's been, it's my lifeblood. It's my thing ever since. So it's a natural to want to, record about it and have people on board talking to me about it. Todd's been on. Someday we might get Mark to watch an episode, he has said, but yeah, nope, not gonna. Yep, no, right off.
I promise I will.
Shoot fire.
I actually almost did the other day.
Almost
start an
did.
episode. And then I didn't. So I
then I didn't.
Time.
I think you get Mark to watch Prodigy. I think that would be the show because you could watch that with Finn. I think that was your in.
There
With
you go. Look at that. Look at that, Todd. He is a self-anointed problem solver. It's amazing.
and I do want to say,
I was gonna watch it was Upper Deckers or whatever it's called.
Yes, Upper Deckers is a very fun show.
and I was going to say before we move on, because I know Corey, you want to keep this ship on track, but one of the reasons Mark and I know each other is because Bobby Pauls. He is kind of a divining spirit. He was a big part of Secret Friends Unite for a long time. He was our DC guy, so he would come in to talk about DC. And one of the reasons why Bobby got into podcasting was because he was doing YouTube videos, and then we had him on, and he decided to get into podcasting too. So it's kind of it's a very incestuous, this podcasting thing. And then I remember when Mark reached out to me, I was sitting in my car ready to go to my office, and he's like, "Hey, Todd, what do you think about doing a thing about video games on Secret Friends Unite?" And the fun fact with that is, I think I said, "Okay, well, let's do it together." And Mark's like, "Oh, I thought it was just going to be me, I think." So, I got to do it with you.
Crickets.
Well, okay, so
crickets.
In my defense, it wasn't that I didn't want to do a podcast with Todd. I wanted to do something that didn't take away any of your time, that didn't make you have to do anything. And I figured without you having to do any additional work, you'd get a video game segment on your show, which I think was actually ripped from like Luke Lore doing a little segment on like Megadads or something like that, or one of those shows. I think like it was very like inspired by that little like take a minute, like 5 minutes of whatever, and just because I knew Charlie didn't talk about video games, I knew that was like a taboo topic for you guys to discuss.
And when I was so heavy in the cosplay, I was like, I don't want to listen to this shit.
Right.
So we had to have our unbreakable pillars, and that's what kind of split things off. But fortunately, he sort of likes Star Wars, so we can sometimes talk about that, but he likes Star Trek a lot. So I was able to still talk about that with him, but then dig deeper by going into the show that he had encouraged me to start.
So Mark, you pitched it, and I can't remember how we came up with the name Co-op Mode. I think we were just pitching names, and I think I told you like years later, I'm like, oh, C&O, that's Carabin and Oxtra. That kind of makes sense. Co-op.
Aww.
Get
those monogram towels. That's hot stuff.
Yeah.
We did how many I think Mark when we hit 100, we did kind of like the facts of the podcast, and I think we lasted 5 episodes of trying to do a 15-minute segment on Secret Friends Unite. That went horribly wrong because they never went 15 minutes.
I was surprised we even hit 5. Right. When you told me that, I was like, no chance. I thought, because that was a trivia question you hit me with, wasn't it? And I thought I was like 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So there we go. That's where So Co-op Mode became a necessity because we just couldn't contain ourselves to a small segment on Secret Friends Unite. So that's kind of how we
and now it's and now it's 3.5 hours every time they go out there.
Feels like it.
I mean, that's why. I mean, look, we started having a lot of guests on our show too, and that's what keeps us in line. We're like, okay, I don't care how long we go. Like I said earlier, I could go for like 4 or 5 hours. I wouldn't care. Maybe I have to get up and pee or something halfway through. But like, if we have a guest on, we have to respect their time, and
Yes.
that also keeps us on track.
Right.
So it's you got to do what you got to do, I guess. But
Yeah, true that.
So before we move on, Charlie, let me tell you my history with Star Trek.
Well, by all means, my ears are like, pew, they're like Mr. Spock. Hit me.
I have seen the J.J. Abrams reboot movie and thought it was great, and then I never saw any of the sequels or went back to do anything else.
I have to go now.
Me too.
One and done.
That is literally my history with it. The exact same.
Yeah,
Lord,
oh man, that was so much fun.
Give me strength. In
Good thing
fairness,
that nothing ever came after that, huh?
In fairness, that film was enjoyable. We did a segment on all three films recently, and it really nosedived into their second film and kind of pulled out by the third one.
Third's great. I like the third one the most.
The second one was the one with Bandersnatch Humbersnatch, right?
Bandersnatch Humperdinck. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, I saw part of that.
God,
Not good.
Awful. But again, that's JJ does Star Wars, does Star Trek. It's really it's not really.
That's when Star Wars wasn't happening. So that was kind of the big game in movies at the time, because Star Wars said, hey, we may never make a movie again. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
Isn't that why he left the third movie to do Star Wars? That's why he didn't do the
third movie. That third movie came out in 2016, so yeah, that would have been the case. Yeah. So that second film was an abomination. But anyway, it's none of the show. So you've never seen any show, never flip past it and like, I'll watch 5 minutes. Oh, all right. That's fine.
Charlie, you're going to have to pitch. I will pitch, Corey, Strange New Worlds. Best entry point to Star Trek ever. It's one of the best Star Trek shows ever. And it's only one season in, and it's all standalone episodes pretty much.
Very low cost of entry. You don't really need to know anything about the characters at all. You've got a captain, you've got a science guy who's an alien, you've got a pretty lady at the helm, you've got a lot of fun, colorful characters, and they go and they have adventures, and it's not like I got to know all this different stuff. The rather Star Trek's not so much. It's very steeped in this thing and that thing, but Strange New Worlds, absolutely. Or for the cheeky stuff, Lower Decks, which is animated, which is very silly, self-referential. Yes, a lot of Easter eggs, but you don't really have to dig on that to get a laugh out of it. So those are the two that I would pitch.
Very goofy. Rick and Morty writers run it. So
same dude, Mike McMahon, and it's got Tony Newsom and Jack Quaid. Just it's a great cast. But I digress.
Cool. Maybe I'll give it a whirl.
Give it a whirl. I love it. Good deal.
So before we kind of get in the meat of your guys' content, just we always like to ask our guests what they've been doing with their lives, what they playing, watching, doing. Mark, I'm going your way first. Switching it up.
Right. Okay. So I have been if the people listening haven't listened to the last episode of Co-op Mode, I've been in like a retro games kick. So I mentioned on our last episode that I've been playing the Pokemon games in order chronologically as they've been released, and I started with Fire Red. And as we were discussing it on the episode, I realized that I was playing that through an emulator and couldn't take any of the Pokemon to my Pokemon Home app and kind of collect them all or whatever. So I stopped playing Fire Red on an emulator and I went back to playing Yellow from the Virtual Console on my old 3DS here. And so I've been playing through Pokemon Yellow for the first time. I played Pokemon Blue when they were first released. My sister had Yellow, so I was familiar with it, but had never played that one. So I figured I'd start there, and I'm gonna do Pokemon Crystal next because I'm about halfway through Yellow right now.
You don't have to smoke that one, do you?
I was gonna say, I think it's like Crystal Meth, Mark. Is there Pokemon Crystal Meth?
Pokemon Crystal Meth.
Isn't that what Pokemon Go is? Pokemon Crystal Meth?
I'm hoping that helps me evolve.
Pokemon Go to Rehab. Oh,
it's not Pokemon Go to the police. Saw how that worked out for Hillary.
Which works into my next bit. I just started for the very first time watching Breaking Bad at the request of a friend of mine. Yeah, I had never watched it.
Never finished it. My one of my best friends, her husband, we've all known each other forever. That is his Star Trek. Like loves it, rewatches it, all this different stuff. I've watched the first couple and have just like, it's like Ted Lasso, which I know one of you guys are going to talk about.
Oh, don't bring it up, Mark. Don't bring it up, Charlie. Don't bring it up. You're going to be sacrificed.
I just, started it. I'm like, I know everybody loves it, but then the Apple Plus thing lapsed and I just got away from it. So someday, I mean, if everybody loves it, how bad could it be, right?
It's so good. There's a little Ted Lasso right behind me, a little Funko Pop figure, Ted Lasso.
Funko Pops.
I got my wife to start watching it with me. And so like I watched the first 2 seasons by myself, and then the third season was coming up and I was like, you got to watch this show. It's right up your alley. It's something that we can watch together. She's like, okay, whatever. And we ended up like,
whatever. Huge endorsement.
Yeah. But she loves it and it's amazing because like now we have like a show that we watch together that's not like some, reality TV thing that I'm playing Switch on the couch,
Yep.
It's a show you need an emotional support partner to watch that show.
Yeah.
I watched a season and a half by myself, very similar, and then was like, you got to watch this. And watch 2 episodes. If you're not hooked, I will never mention it again. And I restarted right back to season 1. I was like, okay, here we go. And she wanted to binge right through the whole thing. And now she's the one that can't wait. She's like Tuesday night, she's checking for new episodes. Like, did it drop yet? Did it drop yet? I know it's supposed to drop on Wednesday, but it dropped yet? And so she's hooked more than I am.
Wow.
So, yeah, Believe. Great show. But I will. The last thing. Sorry, what was that?
I was gonna say every season of Ted Lasso, there's always that one episode that just is like, what just happened? And I just finished the one where it was like Ted
Amsterdam
thought he did drugs.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So the last thing that I've been doing for the last little day or so is listening to the audiobook of Jedi Battle Scars to get ready for Jedi Survivor dropping tomorrow as we're recording this. So when people are listening to it, it'll be out. But Battle Scars, I have a couple of hours left in the audiobook. So after we wrap up here, I'll listen to that until I fall asleep, finish it tomorrow at work, and then come home and spend the weekend playing that as much as I can with a 2-year-old trying to drop kick me off of a couch.
Oh my gosh. No, I got a Jedi Survivor question. So I have a PS4, right?
Yep.
And that
No.
This is no.
The short answer is no.
Yes, I do own a PS4. That is not to be debated.
Yes, you do, but you can't play the Survivor on PS4.
Why can't I purchase it and download it and play it off my PS4? What's the deal?
It's
Because
too
of the
powerful
hardware
of a game.
Because
requirements.
it's too powerful.
Charlie, it would be like you putting a Blu-ray in your DVD player.
That's exactly the one.
But there's no physical copy of it. Okay, fine. We're not going to talk about this. That's okay. This is
Your poor PlayStation 4 would sound like a jet engine before it melted itself.
Just get a Series S, you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
I refuse to get drawn into this debate anyway.
I am so pumped for that game. I pre-ordered that. I pre-ordered Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just ready for the next few weeks of gaming. I'm very excited.
Mark's going to play modern games, folks. He's not just going to
I
play
know.
Pokemon.
No more Pokemon after
Welcome back
midnight.
Welcome back into it. Very exciting.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushMedia and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support. Todd, what are you doing?
So, as we had kind of discussed on Apple TV Plus, it's a great service. They have not a lot of content, but all of it is pretty good, which would lead me to the Tetris movie, which I know Mark talked about because he talked about with his wife. They watched it. Very funny conversation if you want about the Tetris movie. Listen to Co-op Mode 111, where I was not on it because I was in Europe. So listen to that. I can't say anything more. I love these, I guess you call it, they're highly stylized biopics in a lot of ways, but they're dramatized.
like that Chippendales thing that I told you I watched. That was because it was the same thing.
Exactly. Like they take liberties. Howard Lincoln is almost getting caught by the KGB. I mean, Howard Lincoln, I don't think ever did that, but we don't know.
Right.
But it's hilarious. I mean, all of like the songs are great because you get like, this is the whole story about how Tetris got licensed and they had to go to the Soviet Union. It's the 80s. It's great. Mikhail Gorbachev is in this. It's awesome. You get Russian versions of Holding Out for a Hero, which is phenomenal. You get like really cool pixelated chase scenes. It's wonderful movie. And you got Taron Egerton, who I believe he was in the
Elton John.
Elton John.
Yeah.
Yes. He is great. He has a fantastic mustache. So mustaches are coming back, guys. I just feel it. With Ted Lasso, Taron Egerton, it's coming back. But it's a great movie. I think it's for everybody. Whether you like video games or not, it's just a great story, Charlie. It actually reminds me a lot of, and I told Mark this, the Pez Outlaw.
Oh,
it's
God,
a lot like
guy,
that.
The guy from DeWitt, Michigan. Yeah, the Pez Outlaw. That's right.
Yeah, so it's a great movie. So highly check. Just you can watch it with anybody. It's a great story of people and just trying to accomplish something, and you just get to see the world in that 1980s landscape. It's pretty good. But I'll be honest, I'm in a musical kick right now. So I did see Hamilton in Minneapolis. Took the family to that. It was at the Orpheum Theater. It was phenomenal and it's amazing. And even though because it's kind of like a docudrama about Hamilton with rap overtones.
Hamilton absolutely rapped. There's definitely historical proof of that.
Yeah. So even if you've seen it on Disney Plus, seeing it in person is so different. That's the whole point of theater. You can go see the same thing a million different times and you're always going to get a different experience because you're going to get a different cast. And we had a blast with the cast that we saw it with, and they're amazing. So Hamilton, if it comes to your town, it's more readily available to see it than just being on Broadway. So I definitely recommend that. But that leads me into one of my other favorite shows on Apple TV Plus. Man, I should get paid by them. Schmigadoon. Schmigadoon is awesome.
I have not gotten around to that second season, but boy, do we love that first season.
Yeah, Schmigadoon's great. It's basically like a couple gets trapped into a world where musicals exist, in a world that's of lighthearted musicals of the era of like Oklahoma, Music Man, those type of things. And it's all about them having to find love. It's wonderful. And what they're doing, it's very much like, and Charlie and I have talked about this, that show American Horror Story, where it's essentially the same cast, but they come back and do a different story every season. Schmigadoon season 2 is called Schmicago. It's wonderful, but it's a next era of musicals. Chicago, Pippin, Jesus Christ Superstar, Cabaret, that era of musicals. And it's wonderful. And it's great. I can't say enough. It's on Apple TV Plus right now. You can quickly catch up into season 1, and then season 2 is coming out weekly. It's phenomenal.
I sure hope Apple's listening and they're sending Todd some of that, a bag of apples. That'll be your compensation.
Has anybody else watched these?
I haven't, but I think that's on our list after Ted Lasso's over.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's my wife is going to be really into that because she loves like Chicago and all those musicals and stuff.
Chicago.
It's got great actors, and that's the big part. It's got great actors. It's got, the cast is amazing, and Keegan-Michael Key is the husband, and I'm blanking.
Cecily Strong.
Cecily Strong from SNL. She's the lead, and just you're in for a treat. Can't say more than that. And then I've been playing. I just finally finished RE4 Remake. I just love what Resident Evil is doing. I can't think of a better managed franchise of what they're doing with the new and the old and bringing back things and making people happy. And they are definitely making Todd happy. So Resident Evil 4 is amazing. Even with all the weird wackiness within RE4, it still caught me off guard. And I just loved it to pieces. So definitely, if you're interested if you've never played a Resident Evil 4 game, a Resident Evil game, this is a hell of a place to start.
Yeah, our by the time this comes out to everybody, our Resident Evil 4 book club episode will be out. So I played it for the first time. I played a little bit of the original, but I never finished it. So we had 4 people talk about it. We had 2 people who had never finished the original, and then 2 super fans. It was a really interesting conversation. It's a little under 2-hour conversation about the game. So if you It'll probably be out free for everyone next week by the time this goes up. I'm
Nice.
not sure. Somewhere in there. Somewhere in there. We'll see.
Awesome.
Sweet.
So yeah, Charlie, what are you doing? What are you
Well,
what cosplay are you setting up next weekend?
Cal, what if I? Well, actually, no. I have a photo shoot coming in the middle of May with some of the people on in our chapter. My wife and I run a big chapter, the International Star Trek Fan Club, and I actually run the region, which includes Michigan and Eastern Canada. But we have a photo shoot with about 10 of our people on a little town on Lake Michigan called South Haven. It's a sequel to a shoot we did last fall, but it's based around Strange New World. So it's thematically, we have costumes that match that. So that's the big one. I'll be rolling my Captain Pike out again, trying to get my hair up tall like he does, but I'll probably just go like this. But Star Trek is, as always, is my life, but no Picard. The third and final season just wrapped up, and Todd and I have talked about this. We're doing a longer episode about it on Code 47, which will be out the Monday after we're recording this. But it was the wish fulfillment season out of a show that we thought couldn't go any lower. We spent the year between season 2 and season 3 talking about how terrified we were that season 3 was going to be even worse than season 2. Season 2 was throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what stuck, and nothing stuck. But in season 3, they gave that whole group of characters, the Star Trek The Next Generation gang, brought them all back together. In real life, all those actors are very close. They're friends, so bringing them back together was easy, and everybody was alive. That always helps when you're dealing with a group of actors who are in their 70s. They brought them back together for a story that really pulled out a lot of surprises. Introduce some new characters that could potentially lead to a spinoff that would take place afterwards. But I mean, that final episode was wish fulfillment to the nth degree. You had, the resurrected Enterprise from the Next Generation flying into a Borg cube, firing phasers and torpedoes, and basically doing the Star Trek version of the trench run, and getting to the middle of like Death Star 2 in the end of Return of the Jedi, which we're going out to see a 40th anniversary showing of Return of the Jedi tomorrow. We're very excited about that.
Lucky. It's not playing locally here.
It is late at night, and we'll probably be sleeping at least maybe a third of the way through it. But the good news is I do know how it ends. But anyway, they get to the Enterprise flies to the middle of this Borg cube, and there's a big center to it, just like in Death Star 2, and then they blow it up and it fly away. So it's all the wish fulfillment in the world, and in the end of it, everybody lives, which you didn't necessarily, but you were dangling on the edge to know if they really was going to be the case. So it was pretty perfectly played out. So I was very excited about that. Additionally, we've gotten sucked in talking about my wife and I watch most shows we watch together, because we have kind of similar tastes in a lot of different stuff. But we've been watching Succession, which just came on for its 4th and final season, and we just started the 4th season this evening. In short, this is about business powerhouses. Todd, this is a show that's right up your alley because you love business stuff. You're the one who always gives us the links about this is what's going on with this thing and that thing and blah, blah, blah. So this show would be very much you, but it's about a family that owns a media empire, and they're all really horrible people. They treat each other like
it's the Rupert Murdoch story, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It's a dad, and then his kids he's got 2 sons who are at each other's throats. One son who's
Kieran Culkin, one of the kids.
Sure, yeah, he's the really skeevy one. One of them is Alan Ruck, who is of course from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's a daughter. They're all snakes, and they're all just scrabbling around trying to take over.
So money doesn't make people happier.
No, isn't that amazing? They're all trying to be, and the patriarch is actor Brian Cox, who was, of course, Stryker in the X-Men movies back in the aughts.
Don't forget, he's the current voice of the McDonald's commercials too.
Oh, that's right, he is, isn't he? Which
I love. I love that a great actor is the voice of McDonald's commercials and just getting paid.
Because he loves money. But anyway, it's a great show, but you just watch, you're just like, oh God, how much further could they slide? Because it's everybody trying to scrabble for the control of this empire, because right from the beginning of the show, Brian Cox is on death's door. He's going to step down, but then he decides not to, and then he wants more power, more money, and they just keep stacking it up and stacking it up. Yes, I know. Yes, if you have money, you want more money. But no, it's
Knives Out, but only 4 seasons of Knives Out.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see, I think this is the last season, and the villain in the last season is one of the Skarsgårds. I think it's Alexander Skarsgård as a young business snake or whatever. So anyway, we're just getting into it. So that's pretty cool. That's on HBO Max, or just Max, as we learned. It's not HBO Max anymore. And then I went to go see, but Todd missed his opportunity to see Renfield, the latest Nicolas Cage opus, where he is Dracula. Absolutely played for laughs, but is told through the perspective of his familiar, who's played by Nicholas Hoult, the character of Renfield. Also, Awkwafina is in it. I adore Awkwafina. I kind of think everything she does is awesome. It's played for laughs, but it's like it's packed with high gore. It's really gory, but it's almost the silly, like Quentin Tarantino kind of gore, where it's blood splatters and stuff, but it's arms getting ripped off and people getting beaten with their limbs and stuff, and it's just silly, but it has a great message at the end about codependence and basically seeing your own value and stuff, and it's Nicolas Cage as Dracula. What the hell else do you want?
It's the best idea I think anybody's ever had. Let's be honest here. So
sadly, to Charlie's point, I tried to get tickets for it on Friday. It's already out of theaters. Super Mario Brothers, you screwed Nick Cage.
There's only so many screens out there, and we're on the cusp of Guardians 3, which is just going to gobble up all those other screens. So yeah,
Marvel's first F-bomb, I hear.
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, Guardians 3 is going to be packed with a bunch of sadness, I'm assuming.
And Charlie, we should probably drop this bomb right here. By the way, Corey, this is an open invitation to you to join us and Mark, because I don't know if Mark's man enough to do this or not. He might put some skin in the game in the North American box office game. We do a box office wager every year. We're opening up to all of the people in the universe to join us on our Discord to basically predict what the top 10 movies will be of the summer, including a dark horse. Right. It's a lot of fun. You make your picks. By May 4th, let us know. Join in the Discord. We'll add you in. We'll have a lot of fun. And there might even be a prize for the winner.
I have been going back and forth on my stuff because I'm trying to look at predictions, and they're wildly all over the place. And if you listen to Todd and I's most recent episode, which just came out this week, we don't even know where the hell things are going to go, because you've got a DC movie and a Marvel movie, and both franchises have been doing poorly, and then you got a Fast and Furious movie and a Transformers
and a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah, and so you don't know if Tom Cruise's success last summer is going to push him higher, or if it's an aging franchise is going to push it down. There's no way. We play our private league, Todd and myself and John, who's our third college roommate, and our master prize, and Mark, you'll appreciate this, and you've probably seen it in the background before I lost it last summer, is a plastic statue of the villain of the 1996 Star Wars opus Shadows of the Empire, Prince Shizor, which I purchased at my childhood local comic shop here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Argos Books. I'd love to tell it that in 96, he bought it with hopes to sell it. In 2016, I went back in. He had never sold it, and I purchased it for $3 American. And now it has traveled across the country between Vancouver, Washington, and East Grand Rapids, Michigan, never landing in Savage, Minnesota.
I've never won the competition.
We'll see if this is Todd's year. We will see.
Mark needs to join so he can win it and then, rub it in my face.
Yes. Who can't beat him? But yeah, it's the summer box office is going to be nuts. So yeah, but listen to our most recent show, because we do break down our preview, which is a lot of guesswork.
So Corey, I'll send you an invite.
Cool.
Enjoy.
Cool. I guess it's my turn. Although I haven't really been doing a lot. I've been more doing a lot of work for our kind of new stuff than trying to play games. But I've been playing a little bit of Destiny. Obviously, that's kind of a staple. I've been.
Oh, wait, you play Destiny, Corey? I didn't know.
I know. Who knew? Shocker. I've also been playing Disney Speedstorm a little bit, actually.
Oh, yeah. How is that? I got to talk to you about that. Yeah.
So the actual playing of the game is fun. But there's so many, because it's a free-to-play game, and there's loot boxes, there's RPG elements, there's they want you to kind of buy upgrades for your vehicles, and here's the thing: the characters aren't all unlocked either at the beginning. You can either unlock them through the loot boxes or grind them out, right? And
Is there a battle pass?
there is not a battle pass. It is all loot boxes. But if you buy one of the Founders editions, which is like there's a $30 one, a $50 one, and a $70 one, they give you. But it's all the amount of like in-game currency, but then you also get like extra skins for your characters. You get a token to unlock another character right away. But it really sucks because if this game would have been just like a $60 or $70 game out of the gate,
Yeah.
the actual playing of the game is very fun. It is a Mario Kart clone to a T. The cool thing too is that instead of like, you can still race around the track and pick up items off the track and stuff, but like every character has a super ability. And so like Mickey can jump and Sully from Monsters Inc. can scare, and it kind of has the effect of like everybody kind of spins out around him. You know, that those are the only two characters I've really kind of dove into. Donald could get really angry and like kind of it makes him faster when he gets angry.
Road rage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
nice.
Road rage. Yeah.
He's always so angry to start with.
So there's cool things like that. There's characters from all over. Figment from Walt Disney World is the season 1 character. I don't know why they're calling them seasons when there's no battle pass, but I didn't dive that deep into it. So if you are willing to just play the game and grind it out, it is a fun experience. It is not. I would warn you not to play it around young kids because they're going to want to unlock characters, and you can't just straight up buy the characters or unlock them. You have to progress through the game and hopefully unlock one through playing. So, you know, it's really sad because the game is actually really fun to play, but the stuff surrounding it is kind of, you know.
I heard that, like solid mechanically, but like so many gotcha kind of things. Like that's why I haven't picked it up yet, because it's just seems like it's a little bit grabby.
Yeah, it does remind me of my my classic Facebook game that I always loved, which was the Marvel Avengers Alliance, which was just what do you call that when you got it's just limited motion, like
turn-based. It was a turn-based RPG, and Charlie loved it. He was addicted to it. It was back in the day when I think you had to play it on your computer when Facebook gaming was a big deal. Yeah, Charlie loved it. And I played it too, and I enjoyed it too. But it was definitely you were definitely going to be gated. You were gated.
Definite loot boxes, and I did something at some point to like get a crazy unlimited unlock, and you build your characters and get new skins and do this and that, and then they killed it, and I was very, very sad, very, very sad. Yeah. This is why video games hurt me, and I can't love again. I'm sorry, guys.
Zuckerberg, you suck.
It has killed me.
But that's kind of all I've really been playing. I'm kind of in that hole between big game, right? Because like I want to play Star Wars, right? But I'm not going to have enough time to finish it before Tears of the Kingdom comes out, and so I'm kind of pushing.
Corey, it's only 30 hours. I mean, what else do you have to do in your life? You don't have children. You don't have a wife. You don't have a job.
I know, right?
Little tiny stuff.
Get it together, man.
I know.
Do it.
I know.
Priorities.
Jeez, and we're trying to like pre-record a lot of things too before that comes out because we're all kind of taking the first week of June off of recording. So we're kind of like, we're not recording 75 shows in 1 week. We're kind of spacing them out, but you know.
Just let Ed take it over. Everything will go fine. You know, you won't talk. There won't be crazy podcasts about the most weird game in the world. And be awesome.
Yeah. You know, Ed is, we love Ed. He's a character, you know, Nintendo.
Following Ed is like a Twitter danger zone, by the way, folks.
I know. He's, I gotta put him on mute while I'm at work. You know what I mean?
Bing, bing, bing.
And by the way, Corey, I don't know if we told you, we met Ed in Chicago. Charlie and I did when we were at C2E2.
Oh, that
really?
Ed. Oh, yes. Yeah. We did at a bar with karaoke as well. What did he did a Backstreet Boys or something, didn't he? What did he do?
No, he did a very deep cut R&B song, I think.
Right. Backstreet
That we
Boys
didn't know it was
great.
like, we don't know what he's singing, but we'll applaud it.
Right. That's for that. Yeah.
He
We might
did
have even
not tell me
recorded it.
about
I don't
this.
know. Did we?
I think we recorded the next year, so we got you doing what the hell did you do? Holding Out for a Hero. And I always do Jesse's Girl. That's my go-to when I do karaoke. Know it very well.
Good times.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he didn't tell me. Okay, this is going to be the opening of Pal Block this week. So, because he did not tell me about this, and now I have to razz him for it. So,
Oh boy, yes, the deepest and the darkest of the secrets.
yeah. I also finished The Mandalorian season 3 this week. I don't know if something is just wrong with me, but I am not very high on The Mandalorian, like, at all.
Oh, no way.
At all? Not
it's-
like the entirety of it.
It's just fine. I would rather watch like 5 seasons of Andor than another season of The Mandalorian. I think.
Corey, I might agree with you.
Yeah, I
mean,
I don't know if I don't know if I'm just not getting it or like I don't know. Since the very beginning, I'm like, people say it's good, and I'm gonna keep up because I'm waiting for the great episode, and like
not even
Luke Skywalker episode
not even
didn't
the-
Ending
yeah,
of season two.
two.
If that didn't get you, just don't watch.
It did,
I mean,
but I was really bothered by the way that Luke looked. Now I have to say, in the Book of Boba Fett, those weird spinoff episodes where Luke shows up, he looks amazing in that. Like
they shelled out a couple extra Quatloos to make Luke look great. I mean, that is Mark and I's job. He's much more the cheerleader than I am because I will be a little more critical. Like Book of Boba Fett, couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi playing with fire. Though it did have some good moments, but it's like, yeah, exactly. But it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi was just, what can we cram into the chronology? It's the Marvel comics are the same way. What did Lando have for breakfast? The Tuesday after Empire Strikes Back is just what
Mark is force choking you through Suncaster right now, by the way. But I get what you're talking about, Corey, because I feel like after Andor, the expectation and quality writing and direction was raised to me. And when I watched The Mandalorian, I'm like, they need to actually write people how actually people talk versus someone who talks when they were in Lucasfilms. But that's just my 2 cents. Right. I think the Andor raised the bar, and I just feel like Filoni and Favreau are just in a different. They're just doing something different than what Gareth Edwards and that team did with Rogue One and Andor. I just think those are the best that Star Wars has ever been. And I want Filoni and Favreau to raise the bar in their writing skills. And maybe Favreau can't be the only writer because you kind of sense as it's very static and very toned and very like emotionless at most of the time. But I love the part where Grogu not loved it, but I mean, the most emotional was when Grogu was getting taken away by the Praetorian Guards. I'm like, I was actually fearful. And that was a very cool element.
Mm-hmm. Well, Todd, never forget that, Star Trek has a lot of diversity in the different types of stories that they tell, but they may have a certain level of quality across and simply speak to a different audience for each. But it doesn't mean that they don't have a Book of Boba Fett. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everything has a certain level of like, okay, this is for the kids. This is a cheeky show for the adults. This is for the traditionalists. This is for the non-traditionalists. Mm-hmm. Where, Andor, you're right. Andor put it way up here, and seeing Mando after that just made you think like, I just kind of want more Andor. So I'm with you.
Star Wars is like, it's hard to tell because most of it's supposed to be for everybody, but it's almost like Andor's like Breaking Bad, and then this is the rest of it is like a CBS drama. And that's the hard part. It's like, I don't know where you come in to say, you can't say everything Star Wars is just for kids because Andor ain't just for kids. It's high drama and high. So it's like, and then you've got and Mark has probably been watching the new Jedi story for kids shows. And then, so Star Wars is the hard part because they're supposed to be for everybody. They're Disney property. It's like, how do you raise the bar? But then you do like real stakes and it's like, you can't show your kids. So it's a tough place to be with Star Wars versus Star Trek, it's always been more adult leaning. So I don't know.
Yeah. Mark, what were you going to say about, you said you were the complete opposite.
Yeah. I mean, I liked most of Andor for what it was. I found it dreadfully slow for the first little while.
Yes.
Very true. Yeah,
Go back
very
and listen
true.
to our recording if you want to, because we recap that every week, and I was like, get to the point. And I appreciate that as an overall story. I think if I binged Andor, I'd like it a lot better than having to wait to see what manifesto they were coming up with next week. But for me, coming off of that, if they tried to do, I think, that serious of a tone with the Mandalorian, I don't know if I'd enjoy it as much. I think Andor stood out because it was different and because it was something new and because it was something exciting and a different direction. But I like being able to see that high drama, as Todd said, and then going to see like a weekly popcorn movie that I can just like sit down and turn my brain off and watch Mando go pow pow pew pew and watch a cute little puppet run around and be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I love every second of it.
I think that's valid too. No, I agree.
So I'll go from watching Breaking Bad to watching old episodes of Ninja Turtles, and I love them both. And I think that's kind of.
But you don't have Ninja Turtles making meth in their basement and trying to sell it with Jesse Pinkman. So that's the thing. It's like you've got different properties,
you
right?
You don't know what's going on.
And of course, they're the mutants, and they've been the ooze, Mark, the ooze.
And there's a correlation with Krang from Ninja Turtles to what Grogu very briefly had with his little joystick thing with the IG-11. Yeah,
so,
no, yes.
You heard it here.
Star Wars has always been that kind of like escape kind of reality, really corny kind of stuff. Lucas made it for kids, and it was.
Did he make it for kids though? Because adults went to that and they loved it, and everybody. I think it made it for all ages versus specifically for kids though. Because he made the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars, they're talking about a lot of politics. I'm like, the kids love politics, so I don't know. I think that's. I've always said this. Like, I think good entertainment is ageless. Writing down to an audience and not making it very good doesn't give it out. So I always say that Lucas made it for himself and to make it interesting and entertaining. Having the heroes hack a guy in half and killing him isn't for kids. So I don't know. I don't buy that. I think it's an out to say we can dumb things down and it's okay. I mean, that's okay. That's me.
And folks, this is why we don't have Todd on Holocron.
That's why I don't talk about Star Wars anymore, because I'm like, I'll talk about Star Wars if somebody want me to, but I've resigned myself that most of Star Wars is okay, and that's fine. But other people love it, like Mark does.
Moving on.
My opinions on Star Wars are probably not what anybody wants to hear. So, I like certain things that people don't like, and I don't like certain things that people do like. And, that's going to be my story forever, I guess.
I feel you about The Mandalorian. I definitely feel like season 2 was the peak. I think Todd and I share that season 3 was kind of all over the place. So I don't know. So yes, to quote Homer Simpson, it's not quite a mop and it's not quite a puppet. So to answer your question, I don't know.
It's a Grogu.
It's Grogu.
All right. Well, let's get to the kind of the main portion of this spotlight here. You guys launched your Patreon recently. Well, not so much recently anymore, I guess, but you guys are doing a lot of cool things, a lot of extra things. I kind of want to explore your content from maybe from like a novice or a newcomer's perspective, just because that's what this is for, to try to get more people into the Secret Friends community. Yeah, I mean, where do we want to start with your free shows first, or do we want to go into your Patreon? I mean, Secret Friends Unite is the podcast that started it all, I guess. And I know all your shows kind of focus on something different. Let's start with that. Secret Friends Unite. Can we get the Madam Web voice in here first?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please. Yes.
Yes, take it away, boys. So Secret Friends Unite is the original podcast. It was basically, we're going to talk about all things geek. comic books, fantasy, science fiction, comic books, video games, whatever. And Charlie and I started that. And by all means, do not listen to the first episode. Absolutely horrible. Went on too long. We finally got into a rhythm. We've had co-hosts, we've had different people, but it's really broken down a couple of segments where we basically have introduced a couple of core pieces to this. We have 3 to 4 core segments we've always had, and the first one is always the news, and we have a correspondent, Madam Webb, who's always been with the show. She is we don't really know how old she is. We haven't carbon dated her yet.
Yes, we do. She's born January 1, 1900. She is 123 years old. But
okay, there we go.
She doesn't look it.
No, and so she introduces the show. She slums the streets of Hollywood, gets us the news, and we talk about the news stories that we're interested in. We've been doing that. That's a hallmark since we've started the show. Then we get into like what we're reading or watching. It's called the Geek Easy. Essentially, it's this skeezy bar we found out in the middle of nowhere where we can listen to bad cover bands and talk about what we're geeking about in the news. And that's always a fun time. Then we typically have a topic portion of the show called the Thunderdome. So if you remember the movie Beyond the Thunderdome with Mad Max, Tina Turner, she actually is part of the show every week too. And she comes and talks about a topic. So typically it could be a game. The mutants are there to judge us if we're good or bad. And we talk about things. So for example, last episode, we did the summer movies and broke those down. And our next episode, we're going to do a game called Pitch Meeting, where we've done this on co-op mode, where we basically take 4 categories of like the genre, the hero, the antagonist, and the setting. We break that down. So that's kind of where we've been, Corey, in regards to Secret Friends Unite. And Charlie and I have done that weekly, bi-weekly, and now I believe we're at episode 424 will be our next episode.
Oh, yes.
That's amazing. That's man, 400, man. We're almost there with Nintendo Power Block. I think we're at 340, but man, crossing that 400 episode line, man.
It was
we haven't been canceled yet. But
yeah,
Charlie's trying to get us canceled, but we haven't been canceled yet.
It's hard to get canceled, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely. And we've had guests, and that's the part thing we love. We've had guests. Charlie struggles with guests at times because he doesn't know what he's going to get when I bring on a guest on the show. I would say the majority of them have been awesome, have been great, and we made a lot of friends along the way. So I think that's really been successful. We're always looking for guests that brings a new perspective. And, you know, we've had people that are up high, up low. We've had guest interviews. So we really have a great time with that show. So that's a good transition to then our second show. And Mark, tell us all about Co-op Mode.
Yeah, so I mean, we got kind of the intro of co-op mode already in this episode, so I won't dive into how that started. But basically, yeah, Todd and I, and usually a guest, but sometimes just solo. We talk about. Todd always throws out a buy rent return, which is kind of like the FMK. You know, choose one to keep, choose one to just rent for a minute, and then choose one to just banish for forever. And Todd picks the most random crazy things, a lot of times stuff that I've never played or heard of, and he just likes to drive me crazy. And otherwise we go through the usual kind of video game stuff of what have we been playing, recap new games, reviews, all that kind of stuff, and then pick a topic that's sometimes tied to what we've been playing or what's new, or a new game, or sometimes just completely random. It's fun to kind of keep ourselves on our toes. We'll go from amusement parks like the Super Nintendo Land. We had a guest on who had been to a kind of a press early review on that not that long ago, to talking about video games that we would like to see remakes of, or sequels, or how we think the industry should go. So it's fun to dive into that stuff that's not simply what are we playing, what are we reviewing this time. It's a little bit more imaginative, and we can dive into some different stuff there. So that's Co-op Mode.
Yeah, and we don't normally cover the news. I mean, maybe if there's something new, but we typically love to just talk about the oddity and the weirdness of video games. And yes, I am there to drive Mark nuts.
Wow. Concise.
Which then leads us into Charlie and the Code 47, which I encouraged him to do, because I remember when Charlie, you were doing Code 47. I remember when you were doing Star Wars content on Code 47. I'm like, don't do that. Do Star Wars content on a Star Wars podcast. So,
well, look at that. He teed it up, or 2 for 1. No. He had talked to me, said, about, because Co-op had taken off and been going, because Co-op is only about 10 episodes ahead of where we are, pretty much 10, 15 episodes of where we are on Code 47. But I started that with a former co-host in the fall of 2020. And the format eventually aligned with, and it took a break for a while because I had some folks who were working with me who didn't dig on my format. So eventually they went on about their merry way. But I've always broken the show into
So Charlie, tell people what Code 47 is, though. You didn't mention what the actual topic is.
A Code 47, which my wife actually surprised me with a custom license plate for our other car, which we're about to sell, and I'm going to get a new car. A Code 47 in the Starfleet code is a captain's emergency, captain's only frequency, of which, particularly being an SFI, that is what I am. I'm a captain, fleet captain, actually, by rank, because I run a region. So that's pretty perfect. So yes, everything about the show is eyes only, big emergency. We generally split the show into 2, sometimes 3 segments if there's some big juicy news story. But segment 1 will always be new programming. Generally, because we're every other week, that'll be 2 episodes. Sometimes if they're double stacking, it'll be 3. And then the second segment, we have pursued with taking the classic shows all the way up to the modern one. We'll take a season, generally split it into quarters. And so we will do a breakdown of 6 or 7 episodes and just kind of talk them through, give a favorite and a least favorite, and then move on. My ultimate goal when I started the show was to, by the time we gotten all the way through it, to touch every segment of Star Trek, which is now swelling near over 1,000 hours of programming, not including the movies. So I want to be able to say, if things go kaput or we get to the point where we start it all over again, that we've talked about every single Star Trek that has ever been graced. So, since 1966, we even talked about that horrible 1970s animated Star Trek one. I just with my old co-host Rich back in the day. We actually blasted through 22 episodes in like about 45 minutes because it was like, this one's bad, this one's bad, this one's horrible, this one's racist, this one's unbelievably horrible. It was easy to do, but yeah, we enjoy it. We are coming up on our next episode. Will be a longer breakdown of the end of Picard and running down that series, and then we have a 100th episode coming up middle of May. I still don't want to spoil the content of that one. Todd gave me the idea for it. I'll say no more. I've got a team of 5 people that are going to be taking on a big project in this super duper sized episode. So I'm pretty fired up for it. But yeah, if you're a Trekker, it's myself these days. It's myself, my partner, Katie Quinn, who's been with me for quite a bit. She's pretty bombastic. Not as steeped in lore, Trekker the way that I am. And then I have Peter, who's the guy who's been in the chapter with us for a while. He's a little bit more low key, but definitely he's as steeped in lore as I am. So the 3 of us form a kind of weird triad that really produces a lot of great conversation. And we have guests from time to time, but just owing to the format, we don't have them as often as we should, but it's really not that difficult. So I've given some thought into bringing other people into the mix in doing our thing, because like Todd said, it's good to have other voices. But but by all means, listen to the last maybe 25 episodes if you really want to get the gist of it, because that's really where I feel like we hit our stride. But we love doing it. Comes out every other week on a Monday, where the opposite Monday, that's where Mark and I do our.
Well, I was going to say, before we move on, I'm not a person to give a lot of people, Charlie and I are like brothers, so we rarely compliment each other. But I will say this. Charlie knows more about Star Trek than any other person on the planet. He is a fount of knowledge. He is so passionate about Star Trek, and he if you have any questions, he will direct you to best episodes, all those things. So when it comes to Star Trek, Charlie knows no equal. So he is the preeminent expert of Star Trek. That's why Code 47 is an excellent show if you want to learn more about Star Trek.
My gob, I'm getting the vapors over here. My goodness. And also through the club, if you're a Trekker and if you enjoy cosplay, I'm kind of a nut about that. Uniforms, accoutrement, all that kind of stuff. That's something I love helping people with.
You've got a good indie going on, by the way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, you know what? Because I've gotten out of cosplay groups because cosplay groups are a mess and I'll never get involved with another one. I don't get to get indie out that very much often, but with the movie coming up, I don't know, maybe I'll go see it wearing my full indie gear with the hat in the theater to piss somebody off who's sitting behind me.
It'll bring snakes to make everybody pissed off too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Live snakes.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Oh, sorry, Curry.
Oh, go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say, and that's really why we have our podcasts with individuals who are passionate about them. So Charlie with Star Trek, and then Mark with Star Wars. That was his passion. I mean, Mark is passionate about Pokemon, Star Wars, and Fortnite. I think if Mark identified with those things, and Zelda, of course, he's got the new tattoo. But that's why I'm so glad Mark brings the passion with Star Wars, because I don't have that passion with Star Wars anymore, but Mark does. And so I'm so glad that Mark brings that passion.
Yeah, I want to hear about Holocron Chronicles, Mark.
Sure. I mean, this was Charlie's pitch, and so I don't know how I ended up kind of like taking point on the show. Maybe it was because I think you were handling. I think you were handling code, so I was like, "Don't worry, I can do that." But this was a show, like, I've always been a Star Wars fan and had never gotten to talk about it. Didn't really give any thought. Like, when, like I said, I've been talking about video games for so long. So when Charlie pitched this, I was like, yeah, let's go. I will talk about Star Wars all day. And it evolved in a really organic way of Charlie and I trying to do like canon recaps of every single book, comic, little bit of information, Wikipedia.
And that was a tough one, because I was kind of ripping off a more successful podcast and YouTube channel that was doing it. I'm like, we can do that. There's no way we can do that. I just even tried to keep up with the comics. I just couldn't make it happen.
It was tough, and like trying to, especially when High Republic came out, it was like trying to read a novel a week. Or it felt like at some point, so
right? Or trying to speak intelligently about it. I'm like, well, people say it's good or whatever.
Yeah. So it kind of quickly evolved into a personal based podcast of getting people's personal stories. So we try to have as a guest a week, basically. There's very rare episodes that it's just Charlie and I.
Yeah.
And, the last one we had was, I think, the Star Wars Celebration, and a lot of news. And it was just such a busy episode that we didn't have a guest. But for the most part, it's getting a guest who's in the Star Wars community to talk to creators, other podcasters, people who are making Star Wars content, or are just fans and want a place to talk that I have stumbled across online somehow.
Right.
And it's an awesome show. I just love finding out how people came across Star Wars, how they started. And we've had everything from I was born with a lightsaber in my hand to I watched Star Wars last week and I really want to talk about it. I still think one of our most entertainment
within months.
I had never seen the guys, mid-20s or so, had never seen Star Wars, watched them all, kind of binged through,
changed my life,
and was like, hey, you do a Star Wars show. Let's talk about that. So we've had everything. We've had people who like this movie better, that movie better. If you hate a movie, someone else loves it. If they hate a TV show, there's someone else that's their favorite. And it's awesome to talk to those people every week. So it's just kind of all the love and awesome stuff about Star Wars. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's what makes Star Wars. I mean, we kind of hit on it earlier in a negative light a little bit, but I think that's what makes Star Wars fascinating and interesting is because there is literally something for everybody, right? And I love that exists, and I'm that's cool that you guys have people on who are just like new to Star Wars, because that's I sometimes you get these podcasts who are like, you feel like they're elitists or better than everybody because they've seen everything and read all
that's Todd, but I love him. It's okay.
Read all the now Legends books, and Admiral Thrawn is blue, not green.
Luke with 2 U's. You got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of you guys. I want to make sure we hit on your Patreon stuff, because I know you guys have started a ton of cool new things for your patrons. I don't know really where to start. Where do we start?
Oh my goodness, Corey.
We just finished Holocron. Might as well drop through the last one that we just did, limited series called Friend Force 99, where Holocron Chronicles, we like to keep it about an hour or less. And we decided when Mando dropped, we were going to be doing the recaps of that. Because aside from learning people's Star Wars stories, we always recap what's new or exciting or what's the ongoing series or whatever it is. So when Mando dropped and we were, again, recording 2 episodes, like per episode, it's a bi-weekly show. So a lot of talk about Mandalorian. So if we did Bad Batch at the same time, it'd be like, a really, really packed, heavy show, hour and a half, 2 hours or so easily. So we decided to break off Bad Batch, do a limited run series, Patreon first. It is now on the public feeds for everyone, so you can check that out. Mm-hmm. And we covered the Bad Batch in I thought, a very interesting way. And
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It was really cool. And it was basically Charlie, Kay, and myself recording individually, not talking to each other, not like this, not live. We basically recorded our own 5-minute little monologue breakdown, how we felt about the episode. And then everyone just sent it to me. So, Charlie could record in the morning right after he watched the episode. I could record, when I got a chance at, 11:30 at night, once everyone was gone to bed. Kay could kind of really, take her notes and break things down in such a great way. And the three of us kind of coming together as this kind of amalgamation, I found was really interesting to put together from an editing standpoint. And I thought it was cool to listen to. So that was a really interesting show, and something that our Patreon let us be weird with, if that kind of makes sense. Let us explore with a new format and pitch it to the Patreon, the Patreon supporters first. And that's one of the things I love about Patreon is they understand. Usually I think these are our kind of top supporters, so they understand if I'm going to try this, I'm going to see if this works, and I'll spin that in, and then I'll stop talking. I'll spin that into Canardian's Corner, which I've admittedly been struggling with. I've done a couple of episodes, try to find a topic, try to find a groove, and it's been a bit since I put one out, because I've recorded one that I hated, and trashed. I've done that where I've tried to get the motivation and try to hype myself up, and then end up I just you sit in front of a computer, and then you just I just got to go to bed. Maybe I'll try again tomorrow. And I don't know if that's a podcasting funk or a personal mental health kind of funk or cloud or something that I think that end of winter kind of brings. You want it to be like summer and warm weather and nice, and it's still kind of dark and cold, and you're like, I hate this. So it's something, and Todd said, my wife jumped in with an episode of Co-op Mode, and so now we're talking about doing a Canardian's Corner, like Mr. and Mrs. Canardian, and doing something. And we just watched the Super Mario Brothers movie. So we were talking about doing a recording of that this week and putting out another episode.
Mark, that I do a show with my wife, and it's not that often, but golly, do we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. So it's, I kind of like that of Patreon, and this is really kind of the first time I've like openly talked about that my struggles with that show. So it was nice to have Friend Force 99 to like force me. They're like, there's other people doing this. I really got to step up and record it and put it out. So when it's just me, it's like I've been like struggling to find that voice or that place or where I want to take it. So, but the patrons are there. They're there to support the weird and the highs and lows, and they're there for the ride. So, so that's enough from me. Let's hear about, Charlie. You're putting out like
oh my god, Charlie's the nostalgia channel of Patreon.
I am.
Remember that thing? That's Charlie.
Yeah. Yes. I'm. Remember the time you were in Terminator and no. I do 3 programs. And one of which is a little different than the others, but the one that I just mentioned is my wife and I are kind of workhorses with movies. It's something that we'd love to do. We have a membership to the local theater chain, and we go see movies, probably weekly. But what's nice about having the weekly movie pass is you can go see absolutely anything, and if it's god awful, you don't have to feel bad either sitting through it or getting up and leaving. So we parlayed this into what are some of the crappiest movies that have ever been made. Let's like every other month, let's watch one of these. We'll sit on the couch side by side. We'll have one, document. I'll take notes on top and you take notes on the bottom, and in the middle we'll have some trivia. And we'll just rip it to shreds and just have fun doing it. So we've done 2. The first of which was...
And by the way, one of those movies that Charlie did, we already did on Secret Friends Unite a couple years before.
Which he had to remind me. But
his brains just doesn't have retention.
We did it. But this got to be the full treatment. Yeah, we did one movie from the 80s called Cat People, which was hilarious. And we just did 1995's classic Showgirls, which was tremendous. And the next one... Todd's jumping in the mix. We're doing 1998's Wing Commander at some point in the next couple months, which
that is a Star Trek. That is a Star Wars connection, by the way.
Yes, I've never seen it. So I'm really looking forward to that. But anyway, yeah, that's the one that's coming out every month. But the one that I do that's bi-weekly, and it goes back and forth with the one that Todd and I do that he'll talk about it in a minute, is that I call it the Facts of Geek Life. And Todd's right. It's the nostalgia show. You remember when. So what I've been doing, and I just recorded, this is my night of recording. I recorded one earlier tonight, but I've taken some shows from back in the day. So I take a season of Buck Rogers, for example, which was great. I did it with my friend Jonathan Snedeker. We did another segment and we brought Todd in to talk a little bit more about it. So we'll take a season. Maybe we'll split it into 2 parts, but we'll take 3, maybe 4 episodes, and we'll just riff on it and have a good time. Was this good? What was dumb about it? What stood out about it? We just have fun. It's good for a giggle. So I've got a list as long as my arm of ones that we plan to do, and we're just enjoying doing it. It's just fun stuff. And then finally, this is one where we've kind of gotten a little bit of fame and notoriety, as it were. This is what's kind of brought some people to us, is that we have an interview program that we call the Personnel Files. Missy Merchant, who is a good friend of mine, knows a lot of people in the industry through being associated with Cool Waters Production in particular, which is a production company out in LA. Our first kickoff with that was an interview with actor Doug Jones, who is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. That was awesome. But we've interviewed other clients that are from Cool Waters that have been involved in the industry. We've got one coming up with a guy named Mr. Barkley, who was one of the puppeteers that ran the Yoda back in The Empire Strikes Back. He ran Jabba the Hutt in The Return of the Jedi, a portion of that. So don't want to spoil that. That one's coming out in May. But we interviewed actor Lee Ehrenberg, who was in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie and some other things. So that one's really a lot of fun. And again, Missy and my partner Kay will frequently join us for that one too. So yeah, it's been fun. And yeah, I've been cranking these out. I've even had to slow myself down because I'll have 4 or 5 of them scheduled for 1 week, and with my weekly travels from work, I just can't get it all in. So I like to record them and bank them and then just kind of stand back a little bit. But I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. Just yakking with. I did one just tonight with Missy, which was the old show Quantum Leap, which was from the 80s and 90s. That we just had fun yakking it up because some of them are great and some of them are just god awful. So yeah, that's me. And then Todd, take us home talking about the show that we also recorded right before we got on to do this.
Yeah, and I just want to say overall, the Patreon, it was a leap of faith to even start this thing. I was probably the most I would say negative person to say, do we really want to do this? Are we ready? Are we prepared? And that's what I do. I plan for my living. I work in supply chain. I plan. So I got us together multiple times to say, hey, if we want to do this, we have to be planned out, because you can't launch a Patreon and say, we don't have anything planned. So and then Mark's kind of the calming marketing guy. And Charlie's like, we can do whatever and make it happen and launch it. Doesn't matter if the audio sucks, it makes it happen. So I have to hear Charlie's excitement, Mark's like experience in marketing, and my own experience with like a plan to actually make this happen, and how we planned roles within this, because it's got to happen. It's got to be successful. We have to actually manage the Patreon audience, the people that subscribe, how we're going to manage all this stuff. So it's been a journey, but it's been awesome. And I'm so glad we did it. But once again, it takes a leap of faith and a team, and everybody has a voice, and because there's self-doubt. And with that self-doubt, you're like, are people going to listen? It's going to be horrible, and we have to admit defeat. But it's been wonderful. And we're at a place where if people stay for a certain time, that's great. If we get new people, that's awesome. We're doing this because we're supporting the folks that believe in us, and they're supporting us regardless if they listen, if not, because they just want us to have, financial ability to continue this with like paying our fees, and then also maybe invest a little bit and actually maybe enjoy the fruits of our labor. Because we put a lot of effort into this. We do it weekly, and we will hope we just can bring entertainment to people. So one of the things that came out of this was we want to at least have something that's regularly released, so people get something in their Patreon feed. So we've got a couple shows that are like evergreen, and the good thing about our shows is you can listen every time. They're not like, it's a Nintendo release or it's this big news release. No, it's stuff that you could listen to almost any time and still get something out of it. So that's why Charlie and I do a show called Spinner Rack. It's all about comics. And that's something we're really passionate about, is comic books, but we often don't have time to commit to reading more comic books. So this is exactly what we do. So every episode we pick a comic book series, a new project we didn't know existed, or something we're interested in learning about. So we do that every other week. So we just recorded that before the episode that we're doing now with you, Corey, and we love it. And we had people vote on what we would read, and so we've got the next couple ready to go. But we talk about comics, and comics are not always easy for people to get into, but hopefully by our podcast, and we're going to put these out to everybody for free eventually. We put the first one out a couple weeks ago, so people can find a comic book that is interesting to them, and we try to find it a way that's actually affordable. So basically a subscription service or something where people can read a comic book and just enjoy it. So I love this. I'm glad we found some awesome comics. I think, and Charlie's a skeptic because he's a hardcore Marvel guy. So for me to get him to read things that are like non-core Marvel is always hard, but I think this has been largely a success, and he's found a lot of things that he's really enjoyed along the way, and hopefully other people do too.
That's awesome.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Comics are a scary beast to jump into, especially when you haven't jumped in for a while. I mean, my thing growing up was Ninja Turtles and X-Men. So, but then, somewhere, when I realized I could watch the X-Men animated series and not have to like flip the pages, right, I kind of like put it away.
You're cutting out the middleman.
Comics are basically book learning at that point.
Yeah,
this is fancy book learning. I don't know about that. You tricked me.
Well, Corey, I will just say,
Flight run.
Yeah.
You know who to call.
Absolutely. We hit Alpha Flight with the Canadian superhero team, but also we had a great episode with, and Charlie wasn't able to join us, but we did The Last Ronin, which is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book. We got Sean Capri and, John Bernardo as well to talk about that comic book. So there's a lot of great comics that are coming from other media these days too. So if you get a chance, that's out there on our Patreon as well.
The Last Ronin is amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing book.
I'm doing a game based on that now.
I know. I'm so excited.
So excited.
Oh my!
Yeah.
So I missed a
No
lot.
spoilers on that one. It's great. I think anybody can pick that book up, whether you like turtles or not, and really enjoy the series. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, I think as long as you know that there are 4 turtles and Splinter and maybe a tangential character here or there, you're gonna get this book and like it, right?
Absolutely. And I was going to say the last, and I think as Mark pointed out, what he's going to do with Canardian Corner and Charlie and I will do things together on other projects. And I have a project in mind that's a passion project that I'm going to put out there that'll bring people that are traditionally not in the nerd lens in. It makes us excited because we want to do things that make us passionate about it. And that's the whole point of Patreon. Not do what we're already doing for free, but doing things that are complementary and really we're passionate about it.
Yeah. Are you guys doing video on Patreon?
We do. As long as it works. We had a couple snafus with Zencastr, Charlie. With Corey, as you know, Zencastr sometimes has some snafus, but we do video and audio.
Yeah. Yep. When it works. Always great when it works.
We don't do it for everything. We didn't do it for Friend Force 99,
right?
But where it works, when we can, we do video and sometimes it's just audio and basically whatever works for the show, whatever we can make work. It's it's a little bit of a trade off there.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys do video for your main shows and stuff, but me, I just kind of put my headphones in and listen. So
I'm the same way because I spend my life in the car, even just when I'm re-listening to our stuff. But patrons that I support, that I'm not watching their videos. I just don't have the time. Yeah. It's just on in my car.
Yeah, we've been thinking about putting our videos on Patreon, but I'm still kind of working through what works best, and is it worth doing that? Because 90% of our stuff is podcast based. So
True.
I don't know.
Life is on the go, man. So that's the way it works.
I think where video plays a point is if you got a celebrity interview, you want to see that celebrity having an audio voice. You can't put that face with a name, and same thing with what I've tried to do with Spinner Rack is I try to put panels of the page of the comic we're talking about. So it's not just because comics are a visual medium. So I think it adds a lot to it. So however you get it, it's great, but I think video does add an extra layer. It's also, you can see the reactions of people talking, and I think that's what puts us, and that's why we do it. We're personalities. We bring something to the table, and while I may not be the most handsome man in the room, I think at least the reaction on my face when Charlie says something crazy.
The good news is that I am. So, you can look away and look at this shit. Boom. Very put together.
Because Charlie, you know what? He's a very modest man. He's never talked about his looks at all. So by all means, look at him now.
Never. He definitely hasn't based his whole online persona around his Instagram page.
Take a look at me now. Look at this shit. This is Fonzie right here.
By all means, do not. When he asks if she should color his hair, tell him not to color his hair.
No. Why mess with the best? You tried the best, try the rest. Forget about it.
Yes. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, we do video for like our free stuff on YouTube and stuff, but the Patreon is the other. That's kind of what we're working on right now. Is like, is it worth it or not? So, I was just wondering if you guys did it. So, before I let you guys go, we have a couple community questions for you.
Oh wow, my goodness!
Our first question comes from the one true James via Discord, and he asks, what are your favorite and least favorite pieces of media you've encountered in the last year? Games, books, movies, comics, and everything else are fair game.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I have one. And Charlie might even share this. The latest Halloween movie. holy cow. That series started so strongly with the Halloween 2018 and the subsequent releases of the Halloween movies. And we always do a Shocktoberfest or whatever, and we love talking about horror movies. But man, those latest Halloween movies after the 2018 version were horrible.
Oh my God. Todd, throw me something. What's something I've hated in the last year? I can't even remember. I'm always so happy-go-lucky. I don't know.
That's kind of my problem too. Like my mind instantly goes to like really shitty things on YouTube that my kid watches, like Blippi, like
Cocomelon.
Like
Blippi, but not Bluey, because Bluey is king. I know.
Bluey's fantastic.
Bluey's the best.
That, like if Bluey's amazing.
Hey, I just want to say this right now, Mark. Did you know my company? We've got Bluey's fruit snacks, and I'm going to be reworking in that.
What?
Mind blown.
Why haven't you delivered a pallet to Mark's house?
I needed a podcast to tell it on. Why not? I have to hold it back.
Amazing. That's awesome.
My God, I can't think of anything that I just I found absolutely.
Previously, would be the Picard seasons for you, probably, Charlie.
Or
the Star Trek comics.
Yeah, you're right. That is something I really struggled with in the last 6 months in particular. IDW has had the Star Trek comic license since 2007, and they do not have a continuity person, so they tackle this certain era and nobody's really doing their homework on how people should be dressed, or this race wasn't introduced until this period of time, but let's throw them in anyway because it works for our story. There was a Picard miniseries recently that was just a train wreck. It didn't work on any level. So but then they'll turn around and do something I really enjoy. They're doing a series right now where Ben Sisko returns and Worf is part of it, and it's great. The Defiant one, that's really great. But they have some real misses with art and with story continuity. So there you go. Help me find something.
Mark, I was going to say maybe the Pokemon, like I know you liked Arceus, but maybe the most recent Pokemon main series was not as great.
There were definitely. I mean, that was a weird one for me. I loved that game in some aspects, and in others it was a glitchy, bloody mess. So like that could be my answer for both. Because I put a ridiculous amount of time into that game, but it was a train wreck at points. So weird.
Our next question comes from Ice Malone 330 on Twitter. He asks, "What is the one thing you all want to do next that you have been thinking about?" Love, SFU.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That would probably be my passion project for Patreon. Probably a little bit of a preview. I want to create a series called Fansplain. So mansplain, fansplain. I want people to tell me why they love the things they love, and not just in geek media. I want people to tell me why they love musicals, why they love car culture, all those things that may be out of my purview and could make me appreciate it a little bit more than I do today, because I think there's a lot of fandom that I just don't see. It's D&D. It's all these different areas. The Pokemon CTG players, or other people that get into card collectibles or RPGs, or
Todd,
all these different cultures.
I have an absolutely great one for you, Todd. If you can stumble upon it, it's a genius. People who love those Hot Wheels cars, because I'm a figure collector, and you always see there are always guys in the Hot Wheels aisle flip looking for that one little. I wonder what drives those people. What are you the one, hey, it's a 63 Camaro, not a 68 Camaro. I think that's such a weird niche of fandom. I would love to have somebody tell me why they're so crazy about Hot Wheels. I really would.
I saw one of those guys the other
you're in a Walmart
a week ago,
or a Meijer, which is a chain here in Michigan,
in Walmart getting
or a Target or whatever.
And
they're just there's a guy in the they're more hardcore than us Star Wars and Marvel guys, because there's 50,000 Hot Wheels in the store, and they're like, it's got to be. I need NG67. This is an NG43, and you know what I mean.
That's it. I'm holding Finn up, and he's like picking the dumbest looking car, like a Jello mold shaped into a car, and like he's just having fun knocking stuff over. And this other dude's like so serious going through the rack. Like, I need to find the one. It's like And
Yeah,
he's
right.
you could tell he kind of wanted to just be like, get out of the way. And I'm like, I ain't moving. I got a 3-year-old that wants a new Hot Wheels. Like,
Yeah.
you move.
You better
Sorry,
have a
dude.
cup of F off, buddy. You're going to see a nasty, you're going to see a Canadian throwdown right there.
Yeah.
He was intense, man. He was ready to go.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's people that are into
real
things,
serious. Yeah, real serious.
And I want their passion and tell me why they're into it. The Pez collectors, the people that are in these, like, you know, the bronies, the people that are in the you know, the little My Little Pony collectibles. I want to hear their stories and why they're into it. Maybe I'll understand a little bit better. So that's going to be my next Patreon project. I just have to get the right people in the room and do that. So if people know, if they want to just even just go out to me on Patreon, on Twitter, at Toxtra, DM me. My DMs are open. Just tell me something you love, and I want to hear from you, and we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll bring in a couple other people that like have different viewpoints on it, but I want to do that. That's really what I want to do.
That's a cool idea.
I would say that I would like to, you know, I do know people through the fandom community that have different layers of access to things related to Star Trek. They get, you know, screeners for new episodes, or they're invited to premiere events, or they're just, you know, they know people and have interactions. I would love to. I feel like we're kind of on the cusp, and working with Missy and the people that she knows at Cool Waters. Like, we're all going to be together in Las Vegas for Star Trek Las Vegas this summer. My wife and I are going out. Missy brings her whole family. Kay might also come, and Missy is working on getting me to be her +1 to go into the Cool Waters event and hobnob with all those celebs. So my big interest is to kind of take my I come from a journalist roots. I've done that since I was in 7th grade. It's always been part of my DNA to step to a next level where I have some kind of involvement with that, you know, where I am a real Star Trek journalist, part of the community, where I get to be part of that. That's my real passion, is to kind of take that to the next level. And with this Patreon, we all have a dream of this being something that's sustainable. And I mean, my God, my wife has always had big aspirations of having a business on the side where she can support herself. It would be amazing if this someday got to be that for us. It would be amazing, because I know there are people around the world. I support a couple of Patreons out of Australia, the Do Go On Network and the Planet Weekly Broadcasting, where that's what those guys do for a living, and it's spectacular. So I dream big. I dream big that that's something that we can do someday. So that's why I just keep working at it, trying to get better, trying to meet people.
That's the dream.
Yeah. For me, it's pushing myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone again. So I really liked getting into video and stuff, and I really liked, one of the last things I did with the Warp Whistle was like Warp Whistle Daily and Warp Whistle Weekly videos of like 1-minute videos, and I had to finish it in a minute because I wanted to post it up. At that point, Instagram was a cutoff at a minute video. So it was like a personal challenge to myself if I could like kind of vlog every single day and keep it under a minute, and a personal challenge. So the latest thing I've been getting into, and like I'm in a group chat with like Star Wars people and all that kind of stuff, and it's like TikTok and Instagram video of like lightsaber spinning and that kind of stuff. So I just ordered another lightsaber, and I want to get into that now that especially the weather's warming up a bit. It's hard to practice lightsabers in the house. I did shorten the blade on one of my lightsabers, but it's still kind of like, yeah, watch out. I don't have an enormous house, so it's tough. But that's something I see these people that are amazing at like spinning lightsabers, or they're okay and they're getting better. And that to me is such a cool inspiration, because like, to me, Star Wars is lightsabers. I love that. I love lightsaber lore. I love the way they look. I love that it's this kind of mix of like, almost like, you know, fighting and dancing. Because like, I mean, realistic fight choreography is going to end like the Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi fight. Like, it's over in 2 seconds, and that's how a sword fight is. So you don't get a hour-long sword battle with spinning and all that kind of, like, doing an Obi Annie in an actual fight is a great way to get stabbed in the throat as soon as you put your lightsaber behind your back. But like, it looks cool, and I want to do that stuff. So that's kind of the next thing for me, is like, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or both, But like getting into that stuff, getting more into like, doing kind of what I see in the community and jumping on these trends um, and yeah, just spinning some fun laser swords and
They
seeing if I can make some.
spinning.
Don't know if I'll go full Charlie cosplay mode, but it's been something I've been even considering, or ordering some Jedi robes and just like really full hamming it out. And like,
Oh man, I'm telling you, we'll get you down. We'll get you down here to the States. I know photographers, and I've got some Star Wars outfits myself. They're in the garage these days. They get dusted off.
So one thing I did, I was talking to a guy here that does some cosplay and does some content, and he's like a big Pokemon creator and like does Pokemon cards and stuff. But he's done some like amazing like Mortal Kombat cosplays and stuff. And he messaged me the other week about possibly doing like some either lightsaber photography after he saw like a couple of things that I was doing on my Instagram, like even just like having fun and just like having a little duel and seeing how that goes. So that's going to happen soon, I think, as soon as my other lightsaber arrives and I have two to really like battle with.
When the new toy comes in the mail.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. All right. So we have one more question for you guys from our old friend, Matthew Keel, Infinite_Rewind.
Ooh, Matt. Oh my goodness. He's an old head.
Yeah. I know that dude. All right. Rap to me.
He says, what media or media properties would you like time to talk more about?
Geez, what don't we talk about?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Oh, of course, Ted Lasso. I want a Secession podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. I probably have to go into my fantasy roots of fantasy novels. That's my passion, and I loved it well back in the past. And there's a series called Xanth that got me into reading as a kid. A friend of mine was in the series. It's a really cool fantasy series that went on for like 30 plus novels. Would love to talk more about that, and would love to see it expanded upon. But there's also a series called the Rift War series by Raymond E. Feast. He's been an author I actually had on my podcast, and I love the world he created. And that's a big part about like these fantasy creators. They create a world that nobody else owns. It's not like Star Wars or Star Trek that's like established. George Lucas did it. These are other worlds that where people are playing in, and they've enjoyed it, and they've been more or less success there, but they still have a huge rabid fan base. And I think there's a lot there with fantasy and science fiction beyond just the major properties that are owned by Disney or a major media franchise holder. And I think that's where we really need to lean into is who's doing really cool storytelling in something that isn't owned by someone that's putting out millions and billions of dollars context. That's where I get a little bit jaded with all these things, because I'm like, yeah, you're going to get more Star Wars, more Star Trek, and it doesn't have to be the best thing in the franchise. Where I've really leaned in, and that's why I love what George R. R. Martin did with Game of Thrones. He said you can elevate this genre to a level that people can appreciate and love, to like Breaking Bad or something like that. And I just think that there's so much more media that is better than what we've got in the past, because it's told better, but it's not the most mainstream things you could get. And I think we're getting with video games, we're getting that with podcasting, even some of the other elements of other like fan fiction that we're getting as well is phenomenal. So I would love to see more of that versus more people telling stories in Star Trek and Star Wars. Sorry guys, because there's a billion people that already know about those things. I want people to tell us stories about the things that we don't know about yet, and can make great stories that we don't have to tell. I mean, Mark could tell you in like Fortnite, it's an emerging franchise where there's storytelling elements to be told. We've gotten in gameplay, but we don't always get in the narrative. So there's opportunities there, which could be amazing. And Charlie saw it with The Walking Dead, a new franchise that took people by surprise in a comic book. So I think there's stories that are yet to be told that could be expanded upon. So I think we just have to watch more of those than just the big things that we already aware of.
Yeah. What about you, Charlie?
You know, who could follow that up by talking about anything that people regularly like? My first love in anything that wasn't Star Wars, which came first, and even before Star Trek, was Spider-Man. You can see, guy, you can't even see all my figures over here, but I have been steeped in that lore since I was 10 years old. So that is now almost, 40 years gone by. I would love to have some kind of outlet where I had some other kind of big spider head that I could bounce ideas off of. And hey, remember this arc? What does this arc mean to something that's happening today? Or, or all things that have, did something get reset at some point that I'm not misremembering? One of my big accomplishments I use Marvel Unlimited to do it within the last 10 years that I've had a subscription to that, is that I've read every issue of, and I need to catch up because I've fallen off it again, of The Amazing Spider-Man, which is the core Spider-Man title. That's almost 1,000 issues of continuity that I've read of that. And that's, and that's not also counting off all of the little offshoots and all this different stuff, but the core title, that's where all the really big stuff generally happens, is within that. And I've read it all, and I don't recall a lot of it, but I can have my memory jogged. And if I had some other, like I said, big time spider nut who's like, yeah, man, I've read every issue too. Let's talk about something from the mid 80s. Let's have a deep dive where we copy this arc or this thing, or, maybe it's something that's like maybe once a quarter we come back and, have a Spider-Man thing that's on Patreon or that's on our regular feed or whatever. I would, and I'm just being asked the question. It's something I've never thought about, but I'm like, yeah, that takes me all the way back. That's something that's always been at my core. I would take on something like that. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be cool. Mark, what are you itching to talk about more besides Ted Lasso?
I yelled. I was just gonna say I yelled Ted Lasso right away, and realistically, like, that'd be the kind of stuff that I don't talk about is like shows or movies, really. But like, there's a few shows, but really one thing that, and maybe I'm just not listening to the right shows or, following the right people. But we mentioned how good Bluey is, and it's like we don't really have, as like an adult geek podcast network. I don't know if there's a place for me to talk about Bluey or watching this show as like a parenting guide, plus that like masquerades as a kids show. There's like certain things like that I think I think there'd be a place somewhere. I don't know if it's part of the Secret Friends network or just like rambling off on my own or something, but there's part of me that I've thought about a few different things of like that fatherhood breakdown, or things that I watch with my son that, like Encanto, I wanted to do. Like I could speak about that movie for hours.
That movie was on repeat in our house for probably 6 months, I think.
Dude, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
if it was VHS, you would have killed it 5 times over.
I was just gonna say, remember like when you used to wear out VHS movies?
Right.
Like my sister completely toasted Cinderella and Snow White when we were kids.
My daughter with Toy Story back in the day.
Yeah. So like that.
I was going to say, Mark, I think there's and I've seen this, and I'm an older dad. I've got a 17-year-old now, but I mean, I think you've got a point, because I see a lot of the gaming dads, but they just dads who game. And I think it really should be like dads who have to survive. And what are the content that you can share with your kids, that you can enjoy with your kids, whether it's kid content you actually enjoyed, like me I enjoyed the Wiggles. I think there's an audience there where it's not, you're just like, oh yeah, I played God of War, but I had a kid. I did that, but I mean, at your age and
here
Corey's
are the video
age,
games I played when my 3-year-old went to bed.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you got kids and you game. Great. Awesome. But what makes being a dad today different than it was, or what works for you and what makes sense? And how do you manage being a dad when everything's on a tablet and your kid, do you give your kid a tablet? So I think it's like you and Corey are dealing with that right now. I think that's an honest opportunity to say, we've got to talk about being a dad and managing being a dad, enjoying entertainment, and finding things that work with kids. And I think that's an an awesome opportunity that I think you should go after, because I think that's what you're looking for, right? Not just, I'm a dad who games and I want to talk about games with other dads.
And there's nothing wrong about that. And I love, hearing from as the kids get older, like, here's the game I was playing with my kid. And I've geeked out about that a couple of times, of like Finn using autopilot on Mario Kart, or what's it called, Gigantosaurus game from on Xbox, that he can literally not even touch the controller and still win a race. And like, that stuff is great, and it's cool. But there's a lot of other like kid media that I think speaks to parents that I'd like to dive into, aside from just like, let me talk about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies for a couple hours. I don't know. Like,
Exactly.
there's so much stuff that I just video games and Star Wars. I just
right.
And I will say, as a dad of a kid of a certain age, when your kids are playing games, that's awesome and all, but you'd rather have your kid paying attention to like school and doing things versus playing Destiny for 8 hours, and you're like, stop playing Destiny and study your shit, please. So I think it's an honest balance to say we want to share our interests with our kids, but God almighty, we got to raise these kids to actually be successful adults. So I love that there's going to be an opportunity for Mark that you can do this stuff with your kids at their age. So our Patreon's exactly for that type of thing.
Yeah, we've so we were doing the show for a while called Standard Definition, where we were doing like rewatches of, we had a Disney thing, we did all the Indiana Jones movies, we did, we kind of put it aside because we weren't sure how to implement it correctly into a Patreon, and then schedules got, you guys know how it is, scheduling all this stuff, and we do so much anyways that we had to like kind of prioritize certain things, and but we're talking about bringing it back in a real way, like I would say like once a month instead of every week, as part of our Boss Rush Plus kind of segment. And nice. Disney, going back to the Disney well, is on the list, because we were doing every Disney animated classic in order, which is
wow.
I think
Pinocchio.
Oh my gosh, dude, those early ones, man,
that's rough.
Ooh. But I mean, Encanto was on that list, and oh my gosh, I could probably
frame by frame, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I could break that movie down frame by frame. Not even joking. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, you know who to call.
Yeah.
I've got theories. I've got like,
No, I don't know. We got time for all that,
But that's all of our questions, and I think that's where we're gonna call it. I know I kept you guys a little bit longer than we kind of talked about, but you know what? It was great. I love you guys. This was an awesome way to kind of kick off this Spotlight series that we're doing. And
before we wrap up, I got to give you some praise right now, because I think there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that don't realize or appreciate how darn good you are, because this whole thing was like a master class in how to be an amazing host.
Oh, geez.
That knows what the heck they're doing. Because you make it seem so easy, and you sit back and you let the three of us talk and ramble, and you listen and interject when you have to, but you're also so calm that you know that you're in control of this. And for anyone listening or watching, like, just watch him while we're talking. Watch him, because this has been like the definition of how to be a great host with three people who like to talk as loud guests. So holy crap, man, you are amazing.
Well,
I hope people appreciate it.
Agreed.
I appreciate that. Also, when you podcast with Edward Varnell for 10 years, you kind of learn.
You learned some things.
Wow. Expertise and patience, I'm sure.
I mean, come on, Corey. It's not like there's someone podcasting with a red carpet behind his background in front of you right now that could be doing that, and not someone who would be like, wait, Charlie's interrupting 85 people for the 85th time and not letting you speak, but that's okay.
I must speak. But like
exactly.
It's sports shouting.
Exactly. It's part of the eruption. Yes. Corey, you are a gem. You've been so supportive of Secret Friends Unite for our whole journey, and we appreciate you for having us on. So thank you so much.
Yes. All of those things and more.
Yeah.
This has been a good time. No, I appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine, really. Todd, I've told you this 1,000 times, Mark. I'm sure I told you this a few times, but I think how you guys have been so consistent and growing organically and in the right ways at the right times has been something that I have tried to model us after for a long time. And I think we are finally hitting that stride of where you guys have been for so long. And even, when I was doing, the DNA Network back in the day, and then moving into Nerds Gone Rogue, and now with Boss Rush, it's been like, you guys have been the constant kind of, I would say, the North Star of what I hope that we can accomplish, as a team someday, and all the things that we're doing. And I'm really glad that you guys took the time to sit here with me for a couple hours and talk about your stuff, because I think more people need to listen to Secret Friends Unite. If you guys want a podcast network that does everything right and has a good time and talks about all the things that you love, this is the group. So where
very kind.
When on that note, where can we find you guys? Todd, we're gonna start with you. Where can we find you?
Oh my goodness. And Corey, it's an open invitation to everybody on the your network to join us on our podcast. It's funny because I think Josh should be on Co-op Mode. He is a rogue in the Destiny Network. I think he'd be great to have on Co-op Mode. LaRon would be great to have on Code 47. And we already have Stephanie coming on Co-op Mode. So, and then obviously anybody wants to talk about all things the world of geek, have them on Secret Friends Unite, because Corey, you've been on a couple of our shows, so we just want to grow that, and Edward as well has been on a bunch of our shows as well. So with that, I would say follow our socials at Secret Friends U. Go to patreon.com/SecretFriendsUnite. Go to our Discord. Join us there. We talk about fun stuff. We're going to do in our movie wager this year. That's going to be a lot of fun. We already talked about that. And then I would say check out our website, SecretFriendsUnite.com, where everything is there. We talk about, we share everything. Our podcasts, our videos, all things are there. We have a Patreon wall with just my selections of what they look like and what they love in the world of Patreon. So go there as well. So that's all I can say. I'm on Twitter as well, my own personal stuff, but nobody cares about that.
I can't tell. I can't. Mark, what about you?
You can find me everywhere as _Canardian. So that's like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, wherever. Same handle.
Charlie?
For me, largely Twitter at the C3, spell it out. The big one, as I always say, is the USS Grand Petoskey. That is our International Starfleet chapter, which is in West Michigan, but we have people all over. My wife and I run that. We have a lot of fun. We work events. We have meetings, and we just love talking about Trek. We've got a vibrant Discord as well. So find us at the website and hit me up if you'd like to join, or if you'd like me to help you find a chapter near wherever it is that you live. I can help you with that too.
Great. And your Patreon is patreon.com/SecretFriendsUnite.
Got it.
Great. Nailed it. I didn't type it in. I just searched for it on the app. You know how it goes. Yeah, check out their stuff. If you like it, join their Patreon. You guys are great. You can find me at IamCoreyNHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast and various other things here on the Boss Rush Network. Check out bossrush.net for all of our content. We also have a Patreon, which is maybe where you're hearing this for the first time if you're a supporter. Hi, thank you. What Well, thanks everybody so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye. This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better.